passed by multiple cars, as I mentioned earlier on, so Newhoff in a very precarious situation, but he often finds himself in these places. He doesn't qualify as well as he races.
Up front, they are getting with Lee Aberdeen and Luca Varani, not very far apart at all here. But I just want to see how Alistair Haig deals with Marcello Kessler coming around the old hairpin.
Say it's not the best decision they've ever made, just not having done that under the safety car, really.
Yeah, they're taking their pit stop strategies from Ferrari lately or something. What's going on?
In turn one, just too much gas on them, too much feet on the loud pedal, and unfortunately he's dropped him all the way down the order. But Philip Hammer is out in front by an 8.91 seconds. Dan Michael is a wall there, sir. And it definitely doesn't want to be hitting that earlier on as well.
Difficult, the understeer is in the dirty air through that final corner because it's such a long corner and you get dragged off into the grass very easily. He'll have the slipstream down towards the chicane. Peterson was briefly alongside, but that slipstream has saved him and kept him in third.
Yeah, Varani now lost a little bit of time to Aberdeen, about half a second. Peterson is Pike's pushed Morton forward up ahead. He's got out of line. Is now Pike going to have a go at Werrell? Don't push him off. He's in the championship fight. Jack Werrell chasing down Carl Jacklin. Further down, Rob Williams and Chris Barnes.
Sensational run outside line now though for the heavy braking zone. Around the outside goes the Audi R8.
Look how much Miller's caught back into play. Exactly. Miller's still start dropping. He's not on second and change. All of a sudden, Miller's back in play.
On to the back end of Phil Jocelyn. So there's been a lot of movers and shakers in this first 2 laps here for race.
Absolutely serious racing league. Everybody's a lot to have fun. Yeah, it's all about the entertainment. So I hope everybody is enjoying themselves out there in the chat. We know that Ron is been enjoying himself watching the Burger King machines off into the grass a little bit there. Is that really bunching up now?
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. We are welcome back. It's Tuesday night. It's the last one of the summer season. Round 12, live from Daytona NASCAR Road Circuit, or the road course itself here at Daytona. It's going to be very, very interesting indeed. 3.56 miles, 5.729 kilometers, and 13 corners, including 8 and 9, the banking, and 12 and 13. Let's bring you up to date with the scores on the doors at this moment in time. In the pros currently, it sits with Dan Hunt on top with 1,648 points. Jamie Ayres in second on 1,544. Jamie Wilson on 1,325. And then Steve Heppard on 1,182. Pete Van Gaal on 1,122. Then Pete Newman, Ralph Cullinan, Mine Sampson, Tom Griffiths, Dries Neese, and Carl Hardy. In the AM Championship at this moment in time is Colin Sanson leading. No, it is not Colin Sanson leading the way whatsoever. It's actually Ollie Ricks leading the way there. Not too sure why Ollie's only on 1,030, considering he is on 1,185. Colin Sanson is on 1,059. Darren McLean, Roger Morton there, Charles Kellerman, Fiona Siddons, Darrell Wright, Andy Littler, Steve Hansford, Alan Toon, Mick Barry, Arnold Chagnon, and Craig Jones at the back end there. In the overalls, which is both seasons mixed together with one more season beside the championship, it is Dan Hunt out in front on 3,165 with Jamie Ayres on 2,897, Jamie Wilson on 2,522 with Pete Van Gaal on 2,479. Then you got Pete Newman, Ralph Cullinan, Steve Heppard, Charles Kellerman, Tom Griffiths, Darrell Wright, Fiona Siddons, Martin Sampson, Darren McLean, Andy Rittler, Ollie Ricks, Alan Toon, and Steve Hansford. Moving on from Steve Hansford, there's Roger Moore, Miles Owens, Mick Barry, John Sylvester, and Ewan Bramer, some of the ones that have not turned up this season. But I'm James Parfitt. I'm going to be joined in the booth by Mr. Tom Cairns here as well. Tom, welcome in. How are you?
Hello, James. Hello to everyone. We are at the Daytona circuit for the last round of the summer campaign of UkSimracers. But not to worry, it's only a couple of weeks before the next round, which begins the autumn season. I don't know the calendar in terms of where they'll be racing at, but I'm sure these drivers who are well equipped to these Mazda MX5s, they know how to handle them. And Daytona, it's going to be a different circuit to what we saw in Oschersleben last week. Oschersleben proved to be a circuit where overtaking and the draft wasn't quite there as such like we saw at other circuits, but I'd imagine at Daytona, that's going to change it.
Yeah, round two, I can let you know now, race two will be top 12 reverse. So race two will be a top 12 reverse grid here. And I think that's going to make it very, very interesting indeed. We're going to be going into qualifying in about a minute's time. There, Fiona Siddons driving with a busted hand, so may not last all night. Well, Fiona, if you've got the option, if you have got a busted hand, you can come and sit in YouTube chat and watch the rest of the racing with myself and Tom here. It's going to be very, very exciting. Tom, obviously you've been here all season with me. We're not going to know the schedule until about a week's time for next season and where we start, so that's going to be very, very interesting to find out indeed. How are we going to fare here? If you could literally sum up the racing this season, and how would you sum it up yourself, having been here for the first season?
Well, it's been a compelling championship, and you look at how the pros and the AMs have been mixing along. I mean, we've seen Ollie Ricks dominate the AM class, let's be real about it. And not only that, he's been able to get stuck in with the pro drivers a little bit more. And we started to see sort of the best of Ollie Ricks. And as for Dan Hunt, I mean, he's not here at the moment. I'm not sure if he'll be around this evening either. But he's dominated proceedings over the course of the season. Having said that, the last couple of rounds have been about Pete Newman, who has turned on the styles in one way or another. And we were questioning where that form was during the course of the summer campaign. So it's been a tale of a few periods where one driver may do well and dominate proceedings, and then a different driver is dominating proceedings, dominating the rounds. It's been sort of left, right, and centre, if you want to put it in those words. But it's about consistency. It's about getting to the end of races. There is a couple of drop rounds involved in the summer campaign. I believe it's 10 out of the 12 that get counted towards the overall championship. It's the same for the other mini seasons of spring and autumn as well, which add up the total at the end of the year. But as far as the racing is concerned, it's been very enjoyable, I have to admit, and we've seen how effective the draft has been on loads of racetracks, which has certainly spiced up the racing for sure. And people will say, well, Mazda MX5s don't go that quick. Well, in actual fact, they do. They go at something like 125 miles an hour if they can go at a top speed. I think we saw that in Mugello a couple of weeks ago, where Pete Newman and co were able to go at a top speed of 125 miles an hour at the end of the start-finish straight. So you can actually still get a very, very good effect of the draft on tracks like this one, and we're certainly going to see it at Daytona tonight.
Yeah, I think that's going to be very, very interesting. It'll be interesting to see how they pan out with the draft. I'm a bit worried that qualifying, if they get in a draft between the two drivers, qualifying isn't going to really mean much, due to the fact that obviously there could be drivers who have drafted their way to the front, right? Let's be real about it. The draft is so strong here. It's about a 2 to 3 mile an hour difference once again. So if you're drafting somebody, you're going to get 2 to 3 mile an hour more than they are. Normally round about 128 that they get, you get about a 131, 132 mile an hour. So that's going to be very, very obvious on who has got draft when, for instance, if Alan Toon catches a nice little toe here, which he obviously isn't at this moment, but for Andy Littler, there's a possibility that he is going to be able to draft his way right up there, and that's the thing. It is so strong here. It is so strong, and I'm going to find out, just how strong it is. We've been here before. It gave us a 4-wide epic moment over the line where we're trying to decipher the winner. Well, we had to let iRacing do that because we had no idea up in the comms box either. So I think at the end of the day, they are going to have a very, very interesting draft race here, and this is how it's going to be all the way through Daytona and all the way through the 4 races. Now, one of the things I am slightly worried about, is I've seen it before, is rear-wheel drive on a standing start on the banking. It's never always worked out well for other cars that I've seen in rear-wheel drive, so I'm hoping these guys may have learned a lesson or two and might be able to get that car off the line.
Well, I think this circuit is very much designed for the American market, and the American market in motor racing is not synonymous with standing starts. It's more synonymous with rolling starts. So I can see why you are saying that standing starts on bankings aren't really a good idea to have. But we'll find out and see if the iRacing game cycle decides that it'll be a rolling start. I think it should be a rolling start anyway. I think for a Daytona course like this one, I'm sure it won't harm anything.
Nope, it is not. I asked the question before we went live, are we going to be rolling? Nope, we are going to be standing. So I did warn them all that good luck, because I can tell you now, rear-wheel drive on a banking is not a good idea. Then back ends will come round before they start. But you can see here with Pete Newman, he's got purples on the board at the moment. If you have a look, currently he's doing 123, 124, 126. If you go to Jamie Ayres, well, at the moment he's slowing down, unfortunately. He wants that draft away from Newman. So we'll see Ayres' count here, and then we'll jump to Pete Newman. But you can guarantee it's about 2 or 3 mile an hour more than what they're getting from the driver in front. And that will allow, coming out of the bus stop on the backside of the circuit, it's going to be very, very interesting to see how and where the drivers end up, because obviously you can see here Jamie Ayres currently topping north of 125, Pete Newman not even at 125, so it is 2 to 3 mile an hour quicker, and it's going to be paving way for some great racing going over the line, as you can see here with Jamie Ayres and Pete Newman.
So we're just looking at the times now. Pete Newman's just posted a 2 minutes 10.4, followed by Jamie Ayres with a 2 minute 11.2. I think the draft is going to play its role in qualifying, really, and I think if you're in traffic, though, that might not help. Be right on board with Steve Hefford, who's coming out of the where is he? He's coming out. He's coming out turn 7, isn't he? He's still got the Le Mans chicane to get through, and yeah, we're not seeing all the little dots on the screen, actually. I think that's probably because not all of them are set times.
Yeah, they haven't done a lap yet.
Yeah, so Hunter will just stay on board with for the time being and see what lap he is producing. In regards to what he's doing so far over the course of this lap, he's done a 47.5 in sector 1, a 21.9 in sector 2, 47.5 in sector 3, and sector 4, it looks like a 51.4. I don't know if I'm resorting to the last lap on his outlap or something, but I doubt that is particularly the case anyway.
Yeah, I think at the end of the day, it'll be more representative of when he starts getting into a draft area as he is now. He's got PVG tucked up right behind him here as well. So PVG is going to go and draft him along. And you'll see Steve Hefford go quicker and quicker and quicker. And I wouldn't be surprised if he puts himself up further up the grid than where he is currently at the moment. I think for Steve Hefford, he kind of needs that draft from PVG, and PVG really kind of needs to give it to him as helping him out as a teammate here, of course. So we'll see what goes on with these times and how they get on here as well. If nobody has watched Daytona NASCAR before in little MX5s, I can tell you now, we've had 3 and 4 wide across the racetrack here in these cars. So I can tell you, you want to hold on to your hats, you want to sit back, and you're just going to sit back and enjoy some great racing, because it will be absolutely amazing here this evening. As I say, race 2 will be top 12. We will be on a break after race 2, where we will go on to a BRB, and then we'll be back for race 3 and 4. Round 3 will be a complete random reverse grid, and round 4 we will be able to let you know a little bit later on as well. So stay tuned, because it isn't done by any short of the imagination, and we've got 4 epic races here in one round ready to go. So there we go. Gary Walsh, good evening, chaps. Let's hope some good, mate. You're at Daytona road circuit with MX5s, and you're going to have the draft. Of course you're going to get great racing, Gary. That's all you're literally looking forward to here as well. Tom, Daytona circuit, have you driven it? You know, we've got it's a home flagship for plenty of events. D24 is here, and NASCAR's here, the motorcycle road course is here as well. There's a lot to this circuit, been going since about 1959 here. So have you ever been on the track or ever done any racing here?
The only one I definitely remember is, this is going back to the days of PlayStation 2, NASCAR 06 Total Team Control. I remember doing the sort of indie layout of this course in NASCARs. I can't actually remember if it was on, what was it called again? There was another game I think that was released, Project Cars. Yeah. Project Cars back a little bit more recent. I can't remember if Daytona was included on any of their game cycles, but I do remember a little bit of Daytona when I was racing a little bit, but I was a young kid anyway, just sort of getting into the swing of circuits that aren't necessarily involved in Formula 1. And I do like it personally, but I can see the difficulties that the drivers could face if rear-wheel drive cars are not suitable around bankings. I suppose if you went around Rockingham Raceway, I mean, Rockingham nowadays is not really a racetrack, it's more like an industrial estate. Yeah. You try to go around in a Mazda MX5 with rear-wheel drive only, don't think you'll be able to get good stability around there as you would do in a four-wheel drive machine.
No, Rockingham unfortunately is no longer. So yeah, unfortunately for Rockingham, it's a definitive no longer a race circuit there at all, to be blatantly honest as well. Tom is still a whippersnapper, says Phil. Yes, pretty much, Phil. He is. He's young. How old are you, Tom?
I'm 28.
Well, Phil, yeah, compared to me and you as a whippersnapper, but 28 ain't a whippersnapper. He's nearly 30. So there we go. Steve Everett did go over the line, put himself up to a 2:11.092. Jamie Wilson sitting in 6th. We've got Andy Littler leading the way in the AMS on a 2:11.268. Alan Toon is down there, but poor old Al has only just picked up a draft, and I believe that's probably Steve Hansford there as well. I'm 65. Well, I'm 40. I got on 46 now. What birthday the other day? I'm 46, aren't I? So yeah, in conjunction with Tom, with you, Phil, he is a whippersnapper there as well. Fiona Siddons, big puff of smoke coming out of her car, and it looks like she's just gone poof there. So Alan Toon really needs to stay with Steve Hansford, just getting an improvement on his board here and on his time. PVG, after all his drafting, is sitting down in 8th place at the moment, 6th in class, with Ralph Cullinan in front of him, the Irishman there as well. But there is Steve Hafford and Jamie Wilson, I believe, or is that Colin Sanson actually? Colin Sanson in the Year 1 car having a bit of a battle here as well. 4 minutes remaining though, Tom. How representative is the race going to be of qualifying? Because generally we don't see Andy Littler sitting in 4th.
No, it's not really. No, I mean, a lot of these times are not representative at the moment, and I'm sure drivers like Ollie Ricks, who's in 9th position overall and 3rd in class in this session as we speak, that's not really representative, and he's thinking more about the races ahead. And Ollie Ricks, who goes into this round with a clean sweep he picked up last week at Oschersleben. It's the second time, actually, he's done that in the summer campaign. He did it also in Watkins Glen. 4 class wins out of 4 in both of those rounds, which takes his class total, and thankfully I was able to get a stat sheet of how many class wins he has picked up this season as Ollie Ricks, and I can tell you he's picked up a total of 20, which out of 44, that's a percentage rate. That's less than 50%, isn't it? But either way, that is still a very, very good record by his standards.
Yeah, absolutely. Orange, what's that? Orange Pride. Let's just go with Orange. Welcome in there, buddy. Nice little emote you put in the YouTube chat there. You can see PVG pulling past Steve Hefford as Hefford lets him go coming into the Le Mans chicane. That left, right, left. There's the first right. There's the second right coming out now. There's the left. And he goes on that run from turn 12 round to turn 13. Gonna have to be careful here. That chicane does come with a slowdown if you cut too much of it, so you will be literally a sitting duck there. We're all whippersnappers, we all sim racers, Gary Walsh. Yes, this is true. Physically, Gary, we can safely say that feels 65. Mentally, probably not so much. So there we go. That's everybody, of course, at our gentle age, do the sim racing malarkey here as well. So PVG puts himself up into 4th. There you go. Darrell Wright has gone and put himself in 2nd currently, and he's not drafting anybody. I believe he's got Pete Newman in behind him as Darrell Wright. So 1 minute 54. So if you're not over the line by now, you will not make it as Andy Littler pulls over. Steve Hefford might. Yeah, possibly not, to be honest.
Yeah, well, there's still some drivers trying to get improvements. Charles Kellerman is one of them. He's going through presumably the last sector, sector 5. Yeah, he's at the Le Mans chicane, so hopefully he can get maybe a draft off the car ahead. Who's that? He's getting a toe off there. That must be
Steve Hansford.
Steve Hansford, isn't it?
Yeah.
So not to get confused with Steve Hefford, because Steve Hefford is in the pro class and he's in a red liveried Momo machine. Steve Hefford is in that green, white and black livery with the green alloy rims, or alloy wheels, if you want to call it that. Either way, Charles Kellerman has picked up a toe from that, but is he doing enough to go faster than what he was doing before? He crosses over the line, and he does go up the Ollie, up to 8th place with a 2 minute 11.9, which is a phenomenal effort. I think it was a 2 minute 11.9, but I might be wrong on that, actually. But it's a good lap anyway.
2:11.57 was his final lap here. Darrell Wright is going to be peeling in. Pete Newman's peeling in. As I say, Steve Hefford will be the last one over the line. Not quite sure what Andy Littler's doing, but he's still sat on the side of the road, is Andy here, and the time will be running out very, very shortly for these guys, and that will be about as much of qualifying as we go. It's going to be round about 7 laps, give or take, on a 2 minute 10 lap time. And Pete Newman, Steve Hefford there, last one to put the car over the line, as we are just coming to the end of qualifying right now. Right. Race 1, hold on to your hats. We will be going very, very shortly here. These guys will be getting onto the grid, which is what they are doing now. Let's bring you up the grid for race 1. Pete Newman is in first, Darrell Wright in second, Steve Evans in third, then PVG fourth, Jamie Ayres in fifth, Andy Littler sixth, Jamie Wilson seventh, Charles Kellerman eighth, and Ralph Cullinan down in ninth. Then Ollie Ricks, Fiona Siddons, and Sir Alan Toon. Then you've got Steve Hansford and Colin Sanson rounding out the 14 cars on the grid. Right, I'm going to be very interested to see this start. And I say this in the nicest possible way because I have a funny feeling their back ends are going to go sideways. So keep an eye out for this one. And we'll get these up and running very, very shortly. They're going to, you got a full pedal to the metal here for these boys to get these cars off the grid. We've got 2 lights, 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. There you go. Steve Hefford's already sideways as well. Manages to get it off the line. Did everybody else get it down nice and clean? What about Sanson? Struggled a little bit there because his back end did go round, and now, but it is Pete Newman taking the whole shot into turn 1. Darrell Wright tucked in right behind him here, doing a great job for the first run through into turn 2. The left-hander, now they're coming into the International Horseshoe. Around that right-hander to go, and it is Steve Hefford leading the way here, Tom, and taking the whole shot.
Well, Pete Newman getting off to a brilliant start as he was doing so in the last couple of rounds. And he's got Darrell Wright just behind him, so he's got a bit of a buffer over the next pro driver of Steve Hefford, who should make a move as soon as he can. Steve Hefford could do with a good round, actually, because I don't think we've seen him in good form for quite some time.
Oh,
but he's looking for a way through on. Yeah, they had to slam on the brakes to avoid running into Darrell Wright. And PVG almost running into Hefford there, so almost a concertina collision in the early stages.
Yeah, first time now through that NASCAR corner. Now it's going to be the run from turn 8 all the way round to the Le Mans chicane. We can see this now. It is going to be non-stop, full stop. It's going to be green, green, go here for Steve Hefford. You can keep an eye on his speed. He's looking at north of 117, 119, 121. He's jumping up through the speed as quick as anything. Now coming into Le Mans chicane, he's going to be close enough to sit in behind him before he goes out of this corner into turn 12 and turn 13. Here he goes. Now he's going to catch the draft again. Be careful of that off track there, buddy. That will be a slowdown. There you go. He's up high. He has got a slowdown. I did mention it. And he's got to be very, very careful. Jamie Ayres is going to come in right behind him and go straight past him as well. Ollie Ricks in 9th place at the moment. They're 3 wide further back. You can see that now. That's Jamie Ayres and Jamie Wilson here is at the same time on the rundown down into turn 1. This is where the draft's going to play a massive part. Look at Ralph Cullinan on the inside with Ollie Ricks. Look at Charles Kellerman. He's up 3 places as well here, Tom. It's all going off as expected, and that draft is mightily strong.
Yeah, Steve have been a bit too greedy over the curves at the Le Mans chicane. We just see a few drivers drifting their way through, and that is PVG going round.
Why are you facing the wrong ways? Oh, you've gone up and hit Darrell Wright. And now he's gone round. That's going to allow Pete Newman just to cruise off out in front. Darrell Wright 2 seconds. Jamie Wilson has got this. Ricks, Kellerman, Cullinan, Hefford, Littler, Sanson, Ayres and Siddons all in the mix at the moment. It's, as start as you mean to go on, I suppose, Tom. And that's what we're expecting.
Yeah, we saw Steve Hefford struggle, and then we saw Jamie Ayres struggle on the pit straight, and PVG going round at the first turn on lap 2. So it's been quite an interesting last minute or so, and those who have had their own maladies have got a lot of catching up to do. And in a race like this, we saw lap times of 2 minutes 10 and over that, so we're probably looking at around about probably a 7-lap race at most.
Yeah, but now I'm going to jump on board here with, this is currently Ollie Ricks. as we're closing in on Mr. Wilson. Now we've got to make the decision. Do we go high? Do we go low? Or do we just sit there until we get through turns 11 and go again on through turn 12 and turn 13? In he goes. He's going to sit there and wait. Bury it right. You're going to get this right. You're going to have a heck of a run here. Wilson's quicker though. There you go. It's going to be about Jamie Wilson getting a draft off Darrell Wright, I think. I think that Rick's gap's going to extend, and it is extending 5.5 tenths and going up here. And that is the difference, Tom, between Wilson having a draft and Ollie Ricks not really having the draft here. And this is where it's all going to go for Wilson. He's pushing Darrell Wright along, which I'm quite surprised about on that one, because I thought he might have gone past him.
Well, he's probably waiting until the last moment before he decides to get through. Otherwise, he probably would have given Wright the toe going into the first turn. But he's going for it now. But has he left it too late? And has he been too complacent? I think he's probably been a bit too complacent there as Jamie Wilson. And it shows that he's been a little bit too clever. And that has allowed Ollie Ricks through into third position.
Yeah, Steve Everett tucked in there as well. Kellerman's in there. Andy Littler's all the way down in 11th place. Gary, sorry to disappoint you in YouTube chat. Puck, welcome in, buddy. Thank you so much for joining us. Puck is PVG's brother. So, and your boy is unfortunately down the back after making a mistake or having an incident going into turn one. But it's going to be 2, 4, 6, 8 cars wrestling their way through now turn 5 on the run down into turn 6 here, Tom. This could lead to be a massive draft for Wilson. The third car in the back normally gets that double draft that is an absolute flyer.
Yeah, I wonder how Darrell Wright must be thinking here, because he's forming some form of queue now as he heads towards turn 7 before the Le Mans chicane, and this could get very, very tasty here. And how does Ricks play this one? Because if he goes past him now, he's then the cork in the bottle going on to the banking prior to the front stretch.
Well, the only thing they're doing is trying to work together and trying to catch up to Pete Newman, right? Newman is one car. Now, when we say this, we're not talking rubbish, but 3 generally go quicker than 1. If they can line them cars up, and what that means is obviously everybody knows to tail and follow each other around the draft and push each other along. Now, obviously, with Ollie Ricks being the middle car, you don't push the pusher, and if he's going to push Darrell Wright, which he isn't, he's gone up on the high side, and he's going to get a push from Wilson here. He's going to push him all the way past, but here comes Kellerman and Hefford. They're motoring along as well. Wright's going to sit in behind him. This 5-car train is not done yet. It is not finished, and you can just see out the corner of your eye as Ricks gets a little bit of a tap from Wilson on that inside line. Down to the line they go is Ollie Ricks, Wilson, Kellerman, I think, Cullinan, Darrell Wright, sorry, and Cullinan's in there, and Sanson in there as well. Ricks all out of shape, he gets it all wrong. He's going to lose a few positions now as well, and one simple mistake in close racing like this, Tom, and that is exactly what happens.
That's 2 laps in a row that Ricks has outbraked himself into the first turn, and the more he keeps doing that, the more he's going to start falling behind. You can just see how many positions he is losing, and so is Darrell Wright, actually. Darrell Wright's struggling.
Yeah, Darrell Wright dropping down the order. You can see now we've got 2, 4, 6, 8 cars still. 4, 6, 8 cars still. Ricks is on the grass. He's gone and hit Jamie Ayres. Jamie Ayres into Sanderson. And unfortunately for Sanson, he's going to lose out now. Ricks is going to come along. Siddons is just overtaken Ayres, and that was just unfortunate for Ollie Ricks. Too much going into that corner. Didn't really get the car stopped here at all on the brake. He's on the grass. Now he's on the tarmac, now he's got a break, and then he just unfortunately goes in a little bit too hot into the side of Jamie Ayres. But it's going to be along whether or not Kellerman, Hefford, Cullinan and Wright can work together to catch up to Jamie Wilson.
Well, it depends on how they play this. They've got 3 laps to go at the end of this one. I have to say on Ollie Ricks, he was off the track before he made contact with Jamie Ayres and Colin Sanson, so I have to point the blame on Ollie Ricks on this occasion. He has struggled in this race so far as Ollie Ricks, which is very unlike what we've seen from him this campaign. Oh, there's a contact there. That's Charles Kellyman, the AM class leader, going round, and it's Steve Pefford Who is the culprit?
Yeah, it looks like Steve's pulled over to the side. He's going to allow him to come back through here. Unfortunately for Kellerman, he's trying to get that car going. Hefford still running high and wide and handsome to allow the change to come through. But now Darrell Wright and Ralph Cullinan, oh dearie me, we've seen these two come together already this season, Tom.
And interestingly enough, Darrell Wright is backing into the class lead. It's all changing. Steve Hefford continuing to drop back. Sorry to digress on what you've said there, James, but there's so much action going on and so much change. Ralph Cullinan in the mix now with Jamie Wilson. Ralph Cullinan with one class victory this season in the pro category at Spa. He didn't win the race overall. That was Ollie Ricks on that rare occasion. But Ralph Cullinan is determined to go by Wilson unless he's willing to sit back and just go along with Wilson to go after Pete Newman, who has dominated this one so far.
Yeah, Newman's still out in front by nearly 3 seconds up the road here. Wilson, Cullinan and Wright, and we've got Sanson and Ricks. Hefford's jeopardised his race. Is he still letting Charles Kellerman, or trying to let Kellerman back through after this contact? This is where it was here. And it's just coming up, and there it is, just straight push round from Steve Hefford for Charles Kellerman. He has now since swapped the place and Charles Kellerman has gone through, but Colin Sanson has got Ollie Ricks closing in, Ralph Cullen and Wilson and Wright. Can they do anything about Newman with 4.5 minutes to go?
Well, we saw a draw fetch there. I remember a few laps ago, it was something like 2.5 seconds before they came towards the front stretch by going through the banking, and it just sort of came down to 1.7, 1.8 seconds into turn one before all the pandemonium kick-started. So it's not...
Tom? Oh, looks like we may have lost Tom there for a minute. He's gone somewhere. Hopefully he'll be back shortly, but Wilson and Cullinan and Wright going after Newman, 2.9 seconds up the road. It's not going to be able to get there, I don't think, unless they can link up and work together. So we'll see how it works out here for these guys. Is Tom back in with us, Tom?
I am, yes, James. Sorry about that. That's a connection issue at my end. But either way, we are seeing changes for position. Cullinan going through on Wilson now. Likewise with Darrell Wright making the most of the toe on the front stretch. Darrell Wright, who's only won one class victory all summer, has a chance to double that by going through on Cullinan and Wilson. He's far enough ahead of Ollie Ricks, who's actually set nearly 7 seconds off this battle. So Darrell Wright doesn't actually need to get involved in this. He just needs to go along with Wilson and Cullinan. And his second class win this summer is going to be coming his way, although it's not going to be happening for Colin Sanson because he is in the pits and looks like his race is run.
Yeah, Colin Sanson in the pits there, just jumped straight to the pits. Newman, Cullinan, Wilson, Wright, and then you've got Darrell Wright at the end, and you've got Ollie Ricks on his own, then Ayres, Siddons and Andy Littler, Hefford, Van Gaal, Kellerman and Hansford, with Alan Toon at the back end of the field there. So still some great racing happening. We're probably only going to get maybe one more lap at most here. And that will be all she wrote for race number 1. Will be one more lap and then it will be done and dusted for this one. Andy Littler, Fiona Siddons side by side in the same team, of course. Siddons in the pink livery, well, pink roll bar that you can see on the car, and Littler gets a little bit of a slide on, getting on to the banking at turn number 7. What about Cullinan and Wilson? Well, hopefully for Ralph Cullinan, he just needs Wilson to stay there.
Well, Wilson is still tots up behind, and they're not making inroads on Newman ahead. Well, Newman's got a 3-second margin over this battle for second place. And I wonder what Darrell Wright be thinking here. I think it's best just play it safe and just sit behind Wilson and Cullinan, who are having good races so far, unlike Ayres, who's been in the wars. Steve Hefford has had his own melodies with Charles Kellerman, PVG going round with an audacious manoeuvre that backfired on the second lap. And it's in terms of who's going to get AM podium, Fiona Siddons is right there challenging with Andy Littler.
Yeah, Siddons there, obviously on the same team as Littler. Wilson's pushing Cullinan along over the line. The gap is coming down 2.7. It will be the final lap of the race. Partly the fact is 1:36 when they've crossed over, so it is going to be a 7-lap evening of racing, unless of course there's rain. Oh, Cullinan has just gone a little bit wide. In hindsight, he wants to back off and let Wilson take that position, because then he's going to get that draft going on to the final run out of turns 11. He's going to be running there with turn 12 down across the line. This is where that cat and mouse is going to start, isn't it? It's almost a Hamilton-Verstappen-esque moment.
Yeah, well, it's side by side all the way through, so it's not exactly Hamilton Verstappen all the time, unless you were watching Silverstone 2021 on the opening lap.
No, I meant where they were fighting over DRS. Neither of them wanted to go in front. Where was it? Singapore? I think it was.
No, it was in Jeddah.
Yeah.
No, it was in Jeddah.
Yeah, they were fighting over DRS, wasn't they? They were both like almost like to me to you type of thing about who's going to take the DRS. Well, Wilson is literally the man in front now. Alan Toon is taking a trip off the side of the circuit, but it is going to be Pete Newman who's going to be leading into Le Mans. Now, this is where it's all going to go a little bit up and down. Who's going to get what? Who's going to take what? And who's going to be brave enough to be in the front going out of turn 11? Because I can tell you one thing, once you get out of turn 11, it is all about that draft, Tom.
Yeah, and I think Cullinan will be within striking range to go for it. All right, we'll just be happy to step back and just make the most of the draft, because that is all the opportunity he needs to get by both Wilson and Cullinan. He's demonstrated that already. But as we come towards the end of this first race, Pete Newman is about to take his 7th win in the last 9 races.
Yeah, Newman taking that lucky number 7. And we'll keep an eye on this. Is where it's all going to go now. This is where Darrell Wright might be able to get a draft and a half, because I can tell you one thing, it's going to be close. Cullinan, you pulled out a little bit too early. Now watch Darrell Wright come through as well. He's got nowhere to go. He's going to push Ralph Cullinan. We're going to see Pete Newman come over the line. It's a win-win-win. Now Ralph Cullinan, is he going to take second? He is at the hands of Darrell Wright with Wilson in behind. But this is it now. Look at these gaggle of cars as they're coming down to the line. Hefford, Siddons, Ayres is pushing Siddons. Oh my dearie me, it was Hefford. It was, I believe it was Hefford, Siddons, then Ayres, as they all come over the line within one small group of cars. And that is exactly what we expected here, Tom, on them runs down to the line.
And Fiona Siddons will be a very happy woman, because she now takes her first class podium of the summer. Very, very well done to her. She kept her car out of trouble all the way through, and she'll be a very, very happy girl indeed. Pete Newman, very well done to him. His 9th win this summer.
Just seeing Alan Toon go over the line in the bottom of your picture there. There he is, his old Tooney. Let's bring you up the results from heat number 1. And it is Pete Newman on pole position there. Well done. Great job taking that winner, with Ralph Cullinan in second, Darrell Wright in third, Jamie Wilson fourth, then Ollie Ricks in fifth. Steve Hefford is sixth. Fiona Siddons taking the first podium in the summer is 7th. Ayres in 8th. Little 9th, and PVG in 10th. Charles Kellerman in 11th. Steve Hansford be the man on pole for the next race. And then Sir Alan Toon and Colin Sanson. Are you sure that's Siddons' first podium?
I think it's her first class podium. I don't recall in any of the other rounds that she got a class podium. I'm just reading through the stats, actually, which is kind of difficult for me to do so, because it's showing the AM wins, the AM showdown. I'm looking on the summer campaign sheet, actually. So that's for, if anyone knows, I'll have to ask Fiona that one, actually. Or if anyone can ask Fiona.
I thought she got Yeah, I thought she got one. So I thought she had one before. Money shift, not sure what I'm doing. Well, probably go up through the gears, Colin, rather than coming down in one moment there. 3:47 of practice remaining. So, yeah, great job from all of these guys as well. Going into race number 2, Tom, what are we expecting?
Race number 2 is going to be more of the same. Whoever lines up where on the grid is irrelevant, because it's going to keep changing all the time. And that's been the case for most tracks that we've been to this summer. So in case you're wondering, well, does this driver have an advantage by being on reverse grid pole and so being second and that? Forget the grid sheet. That's irrelevant because they're going to see positions change left, right, and centre with the draft that we have been seeing. And of course, all the way around the road part of this Daytona track.
Yeah, I think this is the thing with this circuit. As much as you'd love to sit back and say, well, if you're on pole, you're going to win, it ain't going to matter. It's the same if you're in the NASCAR and you've been doing Daytona as draft week or whatever, draft masters. It ain't going to matter where you are. It's only going to matter where you are at the end. And that probably showed down in, obviously, when I did the MX500 at Martinsville. I started in 34th and I won the race. So there we go. Gary Walsh loving the draft. Well, I can tell you one thing, Gary, it's been very, very strong, and it will continue to be very, very strong as well. Certain tracks, I wouldn't really worry about the draft whatsoever, or worry about where you are on the grid. Daytona, Dega, Charlotte, Bristol, Martinsville, all tracks where you can start at the back and still come through and take the win. To be honest with you, if you're doing just the oval layouts of them circuits, pretty much every single one is you can start at the back and come through and take the victory. So yeah, I'm not overly worried about where you start here. It would just be about, for me, Tom, where you finish.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you are someone at the back at the start, not to worry, because we're going to see a lot of drivers getting through on the first lap. And given the nature of this course, with how long it takes for a lap to be completed, I'd expect to be another 7-lap showdown between the 14-car field. 6 of these are pros, 8 are in the AM class. It's based on experience as well, bearing in mind. Having said that, Ollie Ricks has won nearly half of the AM class wins compared to the other drivers. But Darrell Wright picking up his second class win in what's been a tricky campaign for him, because he has been in the wars a lot of the time. Looking at his DNF record, I think he's had 6 non-finishes to his name.
I think for Darrell Wright, he just gets caught up in wrong moments, doesn't he? He gets caught up at wrong moments, at wrong times on the racetrack, and then ends up literally in the whole sort of problem. And that's the thing. If he could just keep it a little bit cleaner, I think he'll do all right.
I think he'll be all right this evening as well. I mean, he just needs to keep his car clean all the way through, and not be caught up in other people's incidents, because that's what's cost him throughout this season. There's been moments where Victor just slipped from him because he was concentrating on cars around him as opposed to his own driving. And that's the important thing with these cars, is just make sure you focus on your own driving instead of just concentrating on the cars around you all the time.
Yeah, you need to concentrate on yourself. That's basically it, especially at circuits like this. You need to literally concentrate on yourself on this one, and if you don't, you could be in trouble. But warm-up is coming to the end, and we will be able to bring you up the grid for the second race of the evening here. And I think you got to be honest with yourself. The first race and was absolutely amazing in the way that the draft and the race went there, and Pete Newman out in front absolutely killed it. Right, grid for race number 2 very, very shortly. Steve Hansford will be on that pole position with Charles Kellerman in second and Pete Van Gaal in third. Then Andy Littler will be in fourth with Jamie Ayres and Fiona Siddons. Steve Hefford in seventh, Ollie Ricks 8th, Wilson 9th, Wright in 10th, Colin in 11th, and Pete Newman down in 12th. Then you've got Sir Alan Toon and Colin Sanson. These guys are already sitting on the grid ready to go. And, well, let's see how they manage it this time. We're just waiting for Pete Newman and see if he can get over on the line and ready to go. I don't see any reason why Pete Newman would miss the race. Think it more tactics, game of chess with the draft. I agree, Gary. I think you are 100% correct. It is a game of tactics. It is positioning your car. Here we go now. 1 light, 2, 3. Whoa! Where are you going, Steve Hansford? He's decided he's going to have a jump at the start there as well. Hefford puts the car sideways. You're going to have to go in anyway. You might as well have gone. You might as well have gone. You're going to have to go into the pits for a stop and go. Charles Kellerman going to lead the way now, coming down into turn 1. A little bit of a bump from PVG. Everybody checking up nicely before they end up going into the back of each other. Pete Van Gaal, Ayres, Littler, Hefford, Siddons, Wilson, Ricks as well. Poor old Steve Hansford, first time on pole for ages, goes and jumps to start.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter what series you race in, even if you crept forward, it didn't matter whether you gave the positions up, you're going to be called into the pits anyway. So Steve Hansford, as you rightly said, James, should have just got carried on as normal and come into the pits. But it's Kellerman who's in the lead now for the time being. PVG with an opportunity to get his first win for a long time. He's in P2, and it's Jamie Ayres looking to put race 1 behind him. In 3rd place is Steve Evans, Jamie Wilson. And we're looking at the back there. There's someone trying to get into the mix there with Ralph Cullinan and Dale Wright. Has not had 3 positions, 4 places up now already, so he's had a decent start to this as he chases for win number 2 of this evening.
Pete Newman up 4 places there. Sorry about that, Tom. He seems to be having a little bit of a connection issue as well. Sounded like a little bit of a robot. Jamie Ayres, PVG, Charles Kellerman, Wilson and Hefford being pushing along. Ollie Ricks and Littler need to do the same thing. Newman could do with some help here. He could do without Siddons, Wright, Cullinan and Sanson fighting places. PVG pushed, has been pushed all the way by Ayres. Charles Kellerman's gone from 1st to 5th, and he only did that in 1 short straight. Now keep it nose to tail. Everybody should be single file. What are they doing further back here? You should all be single file, and you'll be able to see why you've got to be single file here, Tom, because this is the moment. This is the area that's going to benefit you the most being single file.
PV is going to be involved in a second because he's got Ayres and Wilson to his right, and Steve Hefford could also be going right, but instead he's nudging Gould forward, and I think he's trying to nudge him forward to give him a benefit here, but that's going to allow Charles Kellerman to go through ahead of the Momo driver, and he might even get PVG if he's lucky here.
He didn't. He stopped the car. What about Littler behind with Ricks? He did stop the car there. Wilson alongside PVG with Ayres at this moment in time, and they're going side by side coming into the International Horseshoe. The right hander, it's going to be back on themselves. Somebody's gone round down in 13th. It is Fiona Siddons, had a bit of a problem, but now this is the tightest these guys have been here. You can see from 1st all the way down into 9th. It's 2.2 seconds, which is not a lot of time at all, but it is Jamie Ayres, Wilson and PVG. Wilson's just gone up the inside here, going round the right hander of turn 5. Is he going to be able to stay there? I am so surprised that any single one of these, until they're right at the front, are challenging anybody. I don't understand why you would be and not just sit in single file.
Well, we'll let Joe discuss about that. But Ayres, Wilson and Gould are the top 3. Steve Hefford, despite nudging PVG at turn 1 on the 2nd lap, is in 4th place. Charles Kellerman, the AM leader, ahead of Ollie Ricks. They diced it out for that particular achievement. Pete Newman will need to get by those 2 very quickly, though, and go after his rivals.
Yeah, he will. He's going to want to try and go through as quickly as he can to get himself onto the back of what needs to be Charles Kellerman and Steve Hefford and Pete Van Gaal and Wilson. Again, what did we say last time? 2.2. We're now out at 2.7, so that gap is extending, and unfortunately, well, for Newman now, he's now catching that draft from Ollie Ricks here, so he should be able to make that draft count. Wilson and Hefford, PVG, are running side by side. Here comes the cavalry in Steve Hefford. Wilson's going to push Ayres here as well, and now you're going to see the 2 Momos coming down the outside, going around the final part of the circuit. Over the line they go. Ayres, PVG, Hefford, they don't want to be pushed into each other, trying to block the road off. 3 wide for the Momo boys there. Nice little photo opportunity. If anybody does photos, that was one of them. And Wilson trying to go up the inside. He's got both. Is he going to get the 3rd one as well? Going down now through the right hander, through the left hander and turn 2 into the horseshoe, and at the moment Wilson may, I thought, Tom, he got both of all 3 cars there.
Well, Wilson, who's only won 2 races this season so far, chasing for win number 3 of the campaign, And he's going past Jamie Ayres, what looks like into the left-hander before the West Horseshoe. And he's into the lead, James, and he will not want to throw this away from here, although Jamie Ayres isn't giving it up without a fight. He gets his elbows out into the West Horseshoe, and it looks like he's got the job done there. This is far from over as they continue to dice it out.
Yeah, Wilson and Ayres scrapping side by side now, coming into the left-hander of turn 6 and 7. And Wilson's going to run that tighter line. Ayres is going to try and go round the outside. He's going to get help. Watch this. The cavalry from the Momo is coming. But Charles Kellerman is not letting him have it all his own way either. Neither is Pete Newman. Neither is Darrell Wright, Ollie Ricks, Ralph Cullinan and Andy Littler. They're all involved here. Momo on the front trying to elbow their way past Mr. Wilson going into the Le Mans chicane. Not too sure that would have been a good idea. I probably kind of would have held on for a little bit longer, but they didn't, and Ayres and PVG have gone through. Wilson's now going to get that run through the other side. He's going to have the draft as soon as he comes out here, and is going to go one more time. Charles Kellerman is still involved in this. He's sitting there at the moment in front beside Ollie Ricks. I'm surprised you're running too wide. Tuck your noses in, but Hefford is also going for it as well. But it looks like he's pushing the wrong, going to push the wrong person here. I thought he would have been on the inside pushing Pete Van Gaal, or he's just going to send it free wide.
Well, he's going to go to the right-hand side, is Hefford, of this three-car lane of it. It's almost like being on the M25 as he looks to make his way through around the outside, and he is through at the moment on PVG, but he's not quite ahead of Wilson or Ayres, but he's braking that much later than Wilson. But Wilson is, he's getting his elbows out all right, and Hefford just about sees it. Wilson leaves enough space. It was robust but fair from Jamie Wilson. And Hefford is about to have the inside line into the hairpin here. And Wilson leaves the door open, but he might get good acceleration out of there. And it's complete side-by-side all the way through the line. We don't know where to look.
Hefford and Wilson here. Nose to tail behind that. You did see, and I will tell you now, you did see the 118 of Mr. Pete Newman in there. Just want to stay on board with Steve Hefford. Ayres getting a big old slide on, spins the tyres up. Wilson's now going to find himself in that position. He's almost in a 3-on-1 scenario here. Ayres in front, Momo. Hefford behind, Momo. PVG behind Hefford. Guess what team? Momo. So it's going to be what the Momo boys are going to be able to do for Jamie Ayres. And what are all these cars behind? As you can see, it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, all in a line. And really, realistically, right about now, any one of these 10 can win this as long as they stay within draft range of the car in front.
The top 10 are all separated by just under 2.8 seconds. That is unreal. Jamie is going through on Wilson for the lead. I think they were side by side anyway. They just keep swapping places at every corner. Wilson now the cork in the bottle on the exit of the Le Mans chicane, as Hefford, Gould and Newman will be right in there. Newman chasing for his second win of the night and his 10th victory of the summer. He's not going to get all 4 in one, is he?
He's going to try. He's going to have a go. There's Hefford. Where's Darrell Wright? Which horse is Darrell Wright going to pick? Because trust me, I don't know which one he's going to choose either. Newman is, Ricks has gone and hit. Newman is giving him the bump of love. Newman on that tap side, they're going to be 3 wide. 3 wide. Yay. Wilson, lock it up. There's contact all day. There was little contact. Hefford manages to make it through. Wilson manages to survive. Newman manages to survive. Darrell Wright in there surviving. And then you've got Andy Littler at the back with Ralph Cullinan. And they've all survived as well. So we're going to go again with 5.5 minutes and only 2 laps remaining here, Tom. And still, currently at this moment in time, any one of the top 10 separated by 2.4 seconds can win this race. It has just been epic racing all the way through.
Well, these drivers are in NASCAR mode now. They are just nose to tail and know where to find the job and know how to tackle the Le Mans pain and how to come out of it. Jamie has a half a second lead now over Hefford. That's still not going to be enough of a buffer for when they come round towards the front stretch. We're right on board with Ralph Cullinan, who's trying to make his way through on the AM drivers, not having the best of races so far, but given the nature of how this race has been panning out as we speak, who knows how this could end up. Darrell Wright, the class leader in AM, Ollie Rick's second in that, and Kellerman in third place. Sanson, Siddons, Toon and Hansford are not involved in it, so like you say, it's going to be one of these 10 coming away with the victory in race 2.
Yeah, it will be. It will be, but depending on which way round will it be. Wilson going again over Ayres. He's going to try a side-by-side through Le Mans. Not this time. Here we go once more. Sit back and hold on to your hats because it's going to go off again. There's Ayres. There's Wilson. There's Hefford. There's Van Gaal. There is Darrell Wright. And there behind Darrell Wright is Pete Newman. They're starting to lose a little bit. The guys behind Newman's going to be pushing right now. Momo's going to come up and throw the block. Is Hefford going to throw the block all the way? He isn't going to throw the block all the way up. He should have gone all the way up. He did in the end go up. Darrell Wright's going to hit him with some vigor. Now he's going to go again, drop down onto the inside. No, he can't. There's no room. There's literally 5 cars, 6 cars separated by a blanket. And Hefford comes out on first place. Wilson, Hefford's got it wrong. Now Wilson takes the lead, and Darrell Wright is still sitting in that 5th place with Steve Hefford, Ayres, Van Gaal, Ollie Ricks, Kellerman, Cullinan, and now Littler on the back end. So, yeah, Darrell Wright's gone from being nearly up the front to all of a sudden being in the battle with Ollie Ricks.
Well, I have to say, Steve Hefford, in a space of 3 corners, has found himself in 4th place in what could have been the race lead for him. Newman is through on Wright, so at least he's got him out of the way. Now he's got to think about where he's going to place the car. This time around on this up into turn 1, Newman just slowed down and backed out of it because he knew he didn't want to do a repeat of what he did last time when he just suddenly got forced out wide by one of the Momo drivers, I think it was, and that upset his rhythm and he fell back behind Darrell Wright. But he's ahead of Darrell Wright now, and Newman is just focusing where he's going to place the car on the exit of the Le Mans chicane here. And now he's tucked up behind Steve Hefford as they go through the banking.
Well, we're 2 by 2. Ayres, Van Gaal, Newman and Hefford. Newman making the most of the Ayres Van Gaal draft. Hefford making the most of that. It's still 2.1 seconds. Guys, 2.1 seconds split between 10 cars. It goes to show how close these cars actually are. Ayres now with Wilson. Ayres takes the lead. Wilson in second with PVG. And then Newman has cleared Hefford. So we're going once more. And we're going again here. And it's still any one of these 10 can literally win this race if there is just a big one. Are we going to see the big one at Daytona as these guys are going to come over and take the final lap of the race?
Well, Ayres has got a bit of a margin over Gaul now, but they're going to be catching up to Ayres rather quickly anyway. He can stay for the front stretch now. Darrell Wright needs to, well, he's going to bounce pull alongside, so Newman has to pull out now. He cannot just sit in behind. Oh, there's a bit of a nudge between Wilson and who was it that he just tangled there? It was PVG, wasn't it? They're very, very lucky to keep the cars pointed in the right way. And Newman alongside Hefford into turn 1 as they begin the last lap. Newman goes through on Hefford into 3rd place. And he's got 2 more Momo drivers to dispose if he needs to keep his winning run going this evening.
Yeah, if he can get in between Hefford and Ayres. Ayres is going to pull him along a little bit with that draft on the outside. Ayres is going to swap over and look for Hefford all day. They work well together. And at the moment, it's Wilson pushing Newman, or trying to push Newman past Steve Hefford, Van Gaal and Ayres into the right-hander of the West Horseshoe. Now they're going to go through. It's going to be these. Hefford's gone round with Newman. Hefford's gone round with Newman. He drifted out wide, went across the front end of Pete Newman. And unfortunately, they've come to contact there as well. I don't feel you need to slow down, Pete. I'm going to say that wasn't on you. It didn't look like it was on you. It looked like Newman just drifted out and unfortunately went straight across the nose of Pete Newman.
Yeah, it did look like it, didn't it? Although we have to see how this plays out. PVG has not won for a long time. Has the chance to increase his winning tally. Jamie has gone in for another victory here. That'll be 3 rounds in a row, I think, where he's taken a race win if he was to get by PVG on the last lap. He's got Jamie Wilson for company here, and Darrell Wright, and possibly Ollie Ricks and Charles Kellerman, who are battling for the AM victory as well.
Yeah, these guys coming through the final part. Now, this is that run. I'm not quite sure if Ayres or Van Gaal's got to slow down. Pete Van Gaal's got to slow down now. Now it's all about Darrell Wright, Wilson, Ricks, Kellerman. Right, you've got to go up. You've got to go up. You've got to block that runner, Wilson. It's all about NASCAR styling now, I can tell you that much. They're going to be almost 2 to 3 to 4 wide. Ricks is trying the inside line. Wilson's going to run around the outside. Jamie Wilson looks like he's going to get the win. Darrell Wright, Jamie Ayres, it's going to be Wilson. Wilson has got the win. Darrell Wright got the second. It's Jamie Ayres got third, with Charles Kellerman in fourth and Pete Newman down in sixth place. But it was that contact with Pete Newman and Steve Hefford that cost each other the race here. And in pros, in race number 2, it was Wilson got it. And I can tell you what, it's very interesting that just how close these guys can be, Tom, and it still, you know, not make contact. Obviously, for, you know, we saw the whole Hefford and Newman incident, but other than that, it was clean as anything.
Yeah, it was a good race overall. It was more clean than it was in race 1 as we watched Steve Hansford on his own, but getting over the line. And very well done to Jamie Wilson, who takes win number 3 this summer and his first, I think, since Brands Hatch.
Jamie Wilson is your winner, with Darrell Wright in second, Jamie Ayres in third, and Charles Kellerman in fourth. Then you've got Ralph Cullinan, Pete Newman, and Ollie Ricks. That's the podiums there. Wright, Kellerman, Ricks. And you've got PVG, Andy Littler, Steve Hefford, Colin Sanson, Fiona Siddons, Sir Alan Toon, and Steve Hansford at the end. That's going to wrap it up for this one, guys. We'll be right back after this short break. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, we are back as well. Welcome in Mr. Craig Jones. Thank you so much for that one. Pete Van Gaal, slow down. Yep, we did see that towards the end of the race there as well. Welcome back for race number 3 and 4. I can tell you now, race 3 is a reverse grid. Race 4 is a top 10 reverse. So stay tuned because we've got another 2 races coming up for you here as well. Just coming towards the, hopefully, what will be the end of practice. What do you mean, come on, ZZZ? Really? You know we play the music twice beforehand, and I don't know what you're moaning about, Mr. Jones, here as well. Tom, I think we can safely say race 1 and 2 were absolute bangers.
They were bangers, and we'll be seeing a whole lot more of that in race 3 and race 4. So do not go anywhere, folks. You're going to be in for a treat over the course of the next 45 minutes or so. And the drivers will be thinking about how to strategize in terms of how they tackle the course. Should they be in the lead with 1 lap to go? Should they be in the lead with 2 laps to go? Should they be in front of the queue with 3 laps to go? They'll be thinking about that. All of them will be thinking about the exact same thing as each other.
Yeah, I think you are right, and I think these guys are going to have to really now learn from what they've done over the first 2 races and find out that sometimes being on the lead in the last lap is a bit of a nightmare and you don't really want to be there. But as these guys are going around for practice, hopefully we will advance the session very, very shortly and we can get this up and running. Craig Jones, are we going to see you on track in 2 weeks' time? Let's not forget, when we take a break from this season and we go into the full season here as well, which will give us the overall deciding winner of the free tri-seasons here, with the run-up right until I believe it's December, I think it is, for the final for week 13, or the week ending here as well, as I go and have a look. Yep, week 13 is the 2nd of December, so this will have racing right up until the 26th of December, and then we will be taking a break there for 2 weeks as well. We'll let you know what goes on after this season with regards to whether or not there's going to be a quick winter season before next season, or whether or not they'll go on a break, but we will find out from that one very, very shortly. PVG, you've got him far too fast. Literally far too fast, and yeah, you gone round there, sir, as well. So there you go. So I'll be back next season, or you could have typed English and said I will be back next season, but let's not pick on grammar here for Craig. It's not his fault he can't write it properly in the YouTube chat anyway on that one. But yeah, it'd be good to see you back, Mr. Jones, as they have gone and advanced the session ready for race number 3. Let's bring you up the grid when we can and see who will be where. Well, I'm going to be able to tell you very, very shortly here as well. Hey, I didn't type it, Craig. Jamie Ayres is on pole with Ralph Cullinan in 2nd, Pete Van Gaal in 3rd, Pete Newman 4th, Andy Littler 5th, Jamie Wilson, Colin Sanson, Ollie Ricks, Fiona Sid and Steve Hansford, then to Alan Toon and Steve Hefford down in 11th and 12th, and then behind that in 13th and 14th will be Charles Kellerman and also Darrell Wright. But Jamie Ayres will be on the front row. The lights are going to be coming on already, and ladies and gentlemen, race 3 after 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights will be green, green, green. Everybody got it off the line cleanly as well, apart from Alan Toon, who slid down the banking, which is what was happened a couple of times. But Jamie Ayres leading the way into turn number 1. Ralph Cullinan settling in 2nd place. PVG in behind that. Newman in behind that one. Then you've got Wilson and Littler trading positions as well. And currently at the moment, Jamie Ayres is taking that whole shot into the international horseshoe here, the right-hander. Great start from Jamie Ayres, but it's going to mean nothing, Tom, by the time he gets onto the banking.
Yep, and he knows that from his experience anyway, as he leads the way. So he's trying to build a huge buffer already. It's 7 tenths so far, but if he can get perhaps into that sort of 2-second margin, which is what P. Newman was able to build in the first race, then he's got a great chance to win this one. But he's got a lot of work to do over the course of his first lap, as Gull, who's not won for a long time, needs to come away with something positive from this one, as Steve Hansford looks like he's gone off the circuit by a long way. Ignore the timing tower, because he came on top of it for a second, but there's a reason for it. It's because he went a long way off the circuit, and I think he may have just outbraked himself into that left-hander here as they come through.
Contact with Darrell Wright. There we go. He shoots across the grass, unfortunately. for him and Darrell Wright. I'm not quite sure where he's going to come back. Oh, well, if at any point it was going to be close, it certainly was going to be close there. And PVG, Jamie Ayres, Cullinan, Newman, Wilson going into the Le Mans chicane for the first time. And it is going to be Cullinan's going to try and take the lead, and he does do. But for how much longer do we think he can hang on here for, Tom? Because to be honest, the way these guys are coming in, it's going to be very thick and fast, and it won't be very long at all.
Cullinan taking a rare lead for the time being. Gull and Ayres giving chase, as is Pete Newman, as is Jamie Wilson, who won race 2, got in for another victory here, as it's almost 4 abreast coming towards the front stretch here, and it looks like Gull is in the lead by his nose.
Look at Cullinan. Oh, sorry to cut you off. I thought they were going to go 4 wide. They've gone 3 wide. It's still 3 wide going into turn 1. Newman, Ayres, PVG, Wilson. Newman tries it. There's a little bit of a squeeze. He can't turn in. Ayres is already there. Cullinan's trying to get up the inside as well. He hugs the wall tighter than his favourite grandma, does Ralph Cullinan. And he goes, and PVG comes out on top this time around with Ayres and Pete Newman, and also Andy Littler, Steve Hefford, Colin Sanson. Ollie Ricks was there a minute ago. What just happened to Mr. Ricks?
He got tapped round, James. He got tapped round by someone at the first turn. We're going to see it now. Was it Andy Littler that ran into him?
No, Colin Sanson.
No.
Oh. It was Colin Sanson who ran into him. So we've now got 9 cars, and currently it was 2.0, 9 cars, 2.5 at the moment. Is that going to close back up as well, Tom? Because we've seen them closer than that before with 10 cars in race number 2.
Yeah, and the reason why we're having the gaps as small as they are is because they keep switching positions all the time, and everyone else behind is closing in on them. And we expect to see more of it as the race progresses. We've seen Steve Hefford going through on Andy Littler, who's in the lead of the AM class, but will he maintain it? If he can stay within the draft of the pro drivers ahead, that might just give him the buffer he needs. But you can just see Steve Hefford backing out of it and letting Littler go back through again.
Yeah.
I think he's got to slow down, actually. He's got to slow down as Hefford.
Well, that's given Jamie Wilson a 1.3 second buffer to these guys. 1 second from Hefford to Sanson. Littler there's the gap. 1.4, give or take 1.5 with Colin Sanson in there, but it's still all going off at the front end with PVG, Ayres and Newman. Van Gaal goes to throw the block up on the outside. Newman takes that inside line. Cullinan's getting a push from Mr. Wilson here. Now there's going to be these 5 cars fighting it out. Coming along over the line, they're going to go. Newman's going to take the whole shot this time. Cullinan's going to try and get the run around the outside. Big and brave, high, wide and handsome from the Irishman. Is he going to be able to make it through? He's not going to be able to make it through. He loses, in fact, a place to PVG. And then Colin Sanson's in there with Andy Littler, Steve Hefford, Darrell Wright and Fiona Siddons. But it's still the front end here that are providing all the action at the moment, Tom, and they're non-stop as they have been for the whole 2 races.
Yeah, Cullinan's still dicing it with PVG on the way into the horseshoe that they've just gone through. Now, there's 2 horseshoes. There's one that's like the international horseshoe and the other called the West Horseshoe, which is the next corner that race leader Pete Newman is heading towards now. He's ahead of Ayres, who's gunning for a victory of his own. Newman, who's already won this evening in race 1. You can see PVG going round, and it looks like Cullinan is back through. Did Wilson go through? He did not. And Wilson is now bunched up behind PVG as he allows Newman and Ayres to shoot off into the distance.
Yeah, PVG there lost a couple of places there, did PVG, and unfortunately it was with this incident with Ralph Cullinan. How much of a contact was there? That's going to be the question. He's round the outside. They nudged a little bit there. Then they're going to nudge again on the exit, I think. And but they end up losing quite a lot of time behind him. It looks all nice and clean there at the moment for PVG. And there he is with Ralph Cullinan now pushing along. 1.9 seconds. Hefford and Wright, Littler. Siddons has just dropped off a little bit. And it is so punishable here when you lose the draft, isn't it? It's so punishable when you lose the draft there and you've got nowhere to go.
Yeah, and it's clear as to why Ralph Cullinan's eggs are in the basket in trying to get the draft, because he's not the bravest driver on the brakes anyway. So he's having to resort to the draft to just keep in touch with the leaders in order to stay in the fight. But he's dropped back. I think he might have had a slowdown on this lap as Ralph Cullinan. That's a big shame because it was running well, and now it's a 4-car battle for the race win here.
Yeah, 4 cars, 3 laps to go. Pete Newman, Ayres, PVG, and Wilson. And Pete Newman does manage to hold the lead. It's 2 seconds back to Colin Sanson and Cullinan, and then it's a further 2 seconds back to Wright, Hefford, and Littler. So these pockets of battles are starting to develop here. You got 1 to 4, 5, 4. You got 5 and 6, and then you got 7, 8, and 9 who are non-stop at each other. But Jamie Ayres having a bit of a blink there. That's never good either.
No, and I don't think that will please PVG or Wilson either, because we've seen how connection issues can affect other drivers' lines, and thankfully Ayres was able to get back in straight away. We've not seen that throughout the evening from Ayres, so that should just be a little bit of a blip there, but at least he's still in the fight with Pete Newman for the race win. Pete Newman, 9 times a race winner, 7 of those coming in the last 9 races. Jamie Ayres, who's gone in for his first win of the night. He's won last week in Oschersleben. He won last week in Mugello. Has got 10 wins to his name, going for win number 11.
Yeah, here we go. Newman on the high side. He's running up against the wall. Nobody is kind of following him. Ayres and PVG trying to take the high line, the low line. Now Newman comes in behind him. This is where the draft's going to play a part. Sanson and Cullinan need to be nose to tail, and they are as close as they could possibly be. Cullinan pushing Sanson like a trooper. Wright and Hefford are side by side. Unfortunately, that's not a good idea. That's why they're losing time. There's the front 4. There's the next 2, and here's the 4 after that. Darrell Wright takes up the mantle. Then you got Siddons and Ricks with Alan Toon at the back end. But Ayres is, he's gone again. Hold on, he's back on again. Ayres, PVG, Newman and Wilson. Newman picks on the outside line. Wilson picks Newman as his little horse as well. Now he's going to push him along and see how he can get on here. He pushes him and pushes him and pushes him. Are these guys going to make it too wide into turn 1? Newman gets a little bit of a wiggle on. Pushing in the corner is never a good idea, but he's still giving him a little bit of a shove coming into turn 1. Wilson backs away now, allows Newman to take his line. Newman's running side by side with Ayres. Is he going to be able to get it through? He's not. Is Wilson going to get past PVG? He is. Wilson, got past PVG.
Yeah, that was a great move there from Jamie Wilson, leaving PVG enough space just to make sure PVG got the car into the corner, and it's still a 4-car battle there. And Cullinan's still stuck behind the AM class leader, Colin Sanson, who's won 6 times in the class this season, going for number 7. Darrell Wright is the nearest rival to him, and Wright is 4 seconds off that battle. So Colin Sanson looking good for the class win as Newman goes up the inside of Jamie Ayres into the West Horseshoe, and he's not quite got his nose in front. Ayres will have the inside line for the left-hander that is coming up, and we will see more jostling for position from now until the end of the race. There'll be 2 more laps once this lap is out. But boy, are we in for a fight to the finish.
Yeah, Newman picks the high line. He's kind of got, now he comes down in behind Ayres. He picks up the draft again. He's going to run one more time out the high line. Wilson's going to follow him along and look to push him as they did previously. PVG trying to attach himself to Jamie Ayres behind it. Colin Sanson and Cullinan were 1.7 seconds and now 2.1. It's 2B2 here. You can see they've all got their horses. PVG pulls out a little bit there. Yeah, Jamie Ayres does go through. Wilson in 3rd place. Then it's Sanson and Cullinan. Here they are now. Then we've got Kellerman, Hefford and Wright. Kellerman picks up the mantle of that front chasing group. But at the moment, it's still Newman with Ayres, with Wilson and PVG. We've still got 2 more laps. How many more times are they going to change position here?
Well, Ralph Cullen's got through on Sanson now, but for how long? Because Sanson is right on his tail. But now we've got Ayres into the lead by the narrowest of margins, which is no surprise. And now we've got PVG who's looking to go to the right-hand side of the pair of them. Is he going to go for the move? He's trying to, as he looks to get his nose in front around the outside. Can he do what Jamie Wilson did to him on the previous lap? He cannot do so. PVG having to back out of it. And he's now in 4th position. Steve Heffer's dropped back a little bit. Cullen is able to stay in front of Sanson. Steve Heffer going into turn 1 there. Oh, that's clumsy there from Charles Kellerman up the inside there and making contact. Who lives to fight another day, but Steve Heffer will not be very happy with the way Charles Kellerman came across on him.
Yeah, on to the grass he goes after that as well. You can see Heffer's got somehow front left smashed up when he got hit on the right, but Newman's pulled away a little bit. He's got about a second gap. Then Ayres, then Van Gogh, then Wilson. Are they all going to be able to close up here? Wilson's dropping back a little bit. He knows if he goes any further, the draft is just going to lose him here, and he's going to be with the next pack. This is the Kellerman, Littler, Hefford, and Wright pack, and these guys are going hell to leather as well. They're not stopping with each other. Why should they? They're going to have one and one more. And now Littler's in the middle. Oh, Andy Littler. No. You shouldn't have been there. You definitely should not have been there.
No, he needed to have left Hefford enough space there. Having said that, I think he did get boxed in with Charles Kellerman into that left-hander, and we'll leave for the stewards to look at that afterwards if there is an inquiry into that. But the leaders of Newman, Ayres, and Gull, you can just see in your picture making their way through the Le Mans chicane. Wilson's a little bit further back, but he's still able to get back into this fight by the use of the draft and the fact that these three are going to fight over track position heading into turn 1 as they begin the final lap very, very shortly.
Yeah, Newman out in front, Ayres, Van Gogh, PVG going on the high side at this moment in time. Wilson is in there. Well, he's not now. He's lost the draft. He's going to be chasing his tail. That gap's going to extend up front unless there's any more dramas here. And, well, drama could be free wide. PVG's coming over. They're free wide going over the line. Ayres is going to take up the mantle. Newman's going to have the inside line for the final lap of the race. Is he going to be able to hold on, though? I'm a little bit worried here for Pete Newman, because it's a 2-for-1 push here, and the Momo boys working together well.
Well, the Momo boys are trying to do their best to stay in touch, and to be fair, they've bridged back from Newman, which is not too bad of a thing with the gap as it is, because they know how effective the draft is going to be the next time they come round to the flag. It's going to be a drag race to the line, most certainly. And Jamie Wilson has somehow got back into this fight now. He could all of a sudden snatch the win from the noses of Newman, Ayres, and Gull.
Yeah, he could do as well. He was about 1.5 seconds back. Cullen and Sanson, have tried closing in on each other. And they did get the gap down to 1.7, 1.6, but then they must have jostled because it's now out at 3 seconds for the final time of race number 3. Round 6 and 7 they go on to 8 and 9, and it's going to be Newman, the Englishman, out in front over the Welshman, over the Dutchman, and then it's Jamie Wilson, the other Englishman, tucked in right behind him. But this is where it's going to go once more, and unfortunately, we'll see how this one works out. But Newman's got the gap, but is he going to be able to hold it? That's going to be the question.
Well, you can see the gap coming down all the time, and Ayres and Gull just need to stay in single file through this Le Mans chicane, and they are pretty much free to race now until the flag, as is Jamie Wilson, who's not in the same team as those two, but he'll have the same agenda to what Ayres and Gull have. You can see Newman got a very, very good exit, and an important one as well. I think he's got the race win in his pocket here.
Well, it's going to be the final run now. And Pete Newman is going to take this. I don't think there's any catching. These guys may be closing in, but I think it's going to be Newman all the way. Is going to get the win. He's going to come over the line. He's going to take it here. Pete Newman is going to take the victory in race number 3. PVG being pushed by Ayres. It's PVG, Ayres and Wilson, but Newman wraps it up. What about Darrell Wright, Steve Hefford? Cullinan is coming over the line with Sanson. Charles Kellerman is retaking that position away from Hefford. It's going to be Kellerman, Hefford and Wright, and Sanson gets the AM win. Great job from Colin Sanson there, and that was just literally surviving. And now we've got Sir Alan Toon and Andy Littler. Tooney's pushing Littler along. Go on, Tooney, pull out, son. pull out. Oh, he's just not going to do it, is he? He's going to sit there as Alan Toon and Andy Littler comes home in front of him there as well. So another great race for race number 3. And, well, it's getting very, very, very tight, these races here. That was probably the most spread out one, wasn't it, here as well? But let's do the results. There's rain coming down. Pete Newman in first, PVG and Jamie Ayres. That's your 1, 2, 3 in the pros. Jamie Wilson and Ralph Cullinan in 4th and 5th. Colin Sanson in 6th, takes the win in the AMs with Kellerman in 2nd place. And Hefford in 8th. Darrell Wright rounding off the AM podium. Ollie Ricks, Fiona Siddons, Andy Littler, Sir Alan Toon and Steve Hansford there taking that final place. Rain, banking, rear-wheel drive, standing starts.
Well, play your cards right. I mean, place your bets, I should say. On whatever game show you want to throw in there, but it really could be anyone, couldn't it? I don't know how much practice these drivers have had. I mean, if you've not had any practice in the rain around this track, get some mileage out there now.
Yep. I would be on my bike. I'd be on that banking trying to practice my starts, because I can tell you one thing, they're not going to be easy. So let's see and see how they get on. This is going to be a disaster, says Phil. Well, I can't say it's going to be a disaster, Phil. I think it's going to be very, very interesting here. I think that would be the thing.
Well, I didn't quite pick up on the first part of that sentence there, but it's going to be, well, he's saying it's going to be a disaster. Well, it depends who you ask. I mean, if you ask any of the drivers, they may counter that a little bit. So we'll see how they get on. We're just looking at who we're looking at here on the screen with, is that Charles Kellerman on screen we're looking at? He's going through the banking here rather fine.
Colin Sanson.
It's Colin Sanson, my apologies. Almost looked like Kellerman's car, but it's not. But we'll see how they get on at the start. I mean, the start's not going to be everything. Just as long as they actually get away, they'll be fine from there. But it's going to come down to driver ability from there. That's going to decide the race. We've only had one occasion where an AM driver has won out overall. That was Ollie Ricks at Spa. And what are the chances of that? I wonder what the odds would be if you went to the bookies now or something.
I think, what do we got? Top 10 reverse for race number 3. So we're going to see Ollie Ricks on pole, and he's a bit of a rain master. So, you know, could he come and take it from the front, do you think? Do you think Ollie Ricks has got it for him to be able to take? Because he is a rain master. He does do a great job in the rain and is never not done a great job. So would we expect Ollie Ricks to come through and take a victory maybe in race number 3?
Well, we saw his wet weather class in Spa and also at Mugello, if you remember a couple of weeks ago, James. He was magnificent. He was fantastic. Although he didn't win the race overall, I'm sure he won the AM class anyway. But I want to see him try and go for a win now. It's the last race of this summer campaign, and what a way to go out. If he can, he's not won this evening yet, I don't think, in the AM class as Ollie Ricks. And this is his last chance to do so, to improve his score. But he's had a fantastic summer campaign, and what a way to do it if he was to win overall in the wet.
Yeah, he's a different breed, is Ollie Ricks in the rain, and has shown that many times. But I'm going to be interested to see. I've got this start, I think, is going to be chaotic. I've got to be honest. It's not raining as heavy as we had seen. You see, Ricks has not got window wipers, so we might be all right. What is the situation with tyre compounds? Darrell Wright's trying this on dries. This is the practice, obviously, in dries. I'd be interested to see if he stays there, Because I don't know if I'd be going dry tyres.
I just stick with wets. Do what the weather is doing. That's the answer.
Yeah. Do what the weather's doing. I would go wet tyres, but I suppose if for him it's not raining, he doesn't need the window wipers. So, yeah. Stay tuned for this one. You're going to be in for a treat, I think. But let's bring you up the grid for the final race of the evening. And it's going to be something like this. Ollie Ricks on pole, Darrell Wright in second, Steve Pefford in third, then Colin Sanson and Ralph Cullinan, Jamie Wilson and Jamie Ayres in seventh and eighth, PVG and Pete Newman in ninth and tenth, and Fiona Siddons and Andy Littler. Then on from Andy Littler, Sir Alan Toon and Steve Hansford. Right, they are all on the grid getting ready to go. Stay tuned. Let's just put it that way. Dries for me. Fiona Siddons and Andy Littler on dries. Everybody else on wets. Darrell Wright is kind of, I think, sitting in the pit lane trying to decide what to do here. We'll see who's going to be able to get it off the line, I think, as well, when you're looking at it. Because, obviously, with Andy Littler all the way at the back, Ollie Ricks at the front, well, let's see what goes on. And we're just waiting for Darrell Wright. I don't think Darrell could quite decide which way to go here. I think that's the thing for him. Well, he's not going to go at all. He's not there. 3 lights, 4 lights, 5 lights. Who's going to have the grip? Oh, Siddons dries for me, she says. And that was the result for Fiona Siddons. Ollie Ricks out in front on those wet tyres. Everybody on dries. Andy Littler is down the order. Fiona Siddons is down the order. Darrell Wright's on his way out on dries. I'm not too sure. I would have gone with that one. And Ollie Ricks is there as well. Charles Kellerman in the mix. Oh, there's PBG and Ralph Cullinan in the wall. Oh, my dearie me. PVG got caught up with Ralph Cullinan and in the wall, but it's Ollie Ricks taking the whole shot out in front. Steve Ever, Colin Sanson, Wilson and Cullinan will have a look back at the PVG Ralph Cullinan incident, a little bit later on in the lap, but PVG and Ralph Cullinan in the wall at the horseshoe.
Yeah, it's a terrible shame there for PVG, and Ralph Cullinan will get a replay of it shortly. But Ollie Ricks taking an early lead. He's already about a second clear of Steve Hefford. Now, Steve Hefford is good in these conditions as well, but only when he's in this stride. But it's a matter of time before he actually loses it, because we saw it in Mugello a couple of weeks back, where he just gave up after a second spin when he was performing brilliantly.
Rick's out in front, Steve Hefford in second, and Colin Sanson, Charles Kellerman, Ayres, Wilson, Newman and Hansford a little bit further back. Then there's Cullinan and Van Gaal still having a little bit of a ding-dong, but they're too wide there. Ayres and Kellerman, Newman and Wilson closing in. I think dry tyres, if you're on dries, you've made a mistake here. I've got to be honest, I think you've made a mistake. Ollie Ricks is on wets and is absolutely flying as they come into the end, into the Le Mans chicane for the first time. Through they go. They're going to go left now. Then they're going to go right. And at the moment, Ollie Ricks out in front with Steve Pefford, Jamie Ayres, Colin Sanson's gone wide. He's got to be careful trying to get back on. He has now managed to get back on, but I've got a funny feeling he's just lost that draft. And Steve Pefford and Ollie Ricks running side by side.
Yeah, and they won't be going at the speeds of what they would have been in the dry. They know how difficult it can be, because when it rains, the water streams down the banking and it can cause all sorts of aquaplaning. But it seems like Steve Hefford and Ollie Ricks have got a grip on the situation as they go side by side towards the end of the first lap.
Hefford on the outside, Ricks on the inside. There's going to be a little bit of banging doors coming down into turn one. Ricks doing a great job. Hefford doing a great job. Both of these men pointing in the right direction. You see in the back, Newman, Kellerman and Wilson. Sanson's trying to tag on to it. PVG's in the pit lane, and well, we can show you why, because this is what happened with PVG and Ralph Cullinan. Not quite sure how they got where they got, but they got there somehow. Oh
dear.
Cullinan running wide, got tagged by Ayres round into PVG. and away they went. Fiona Siddons right at the start. This was her situation. Hadn't even gone anywhere off the line, Fiona Siddons. Literally, as soon as it comes in, as soon as it goes green, watch the back end, no grip, and unfortunately around she goes, and unfortunately reverses there as well. Kellerman side by side with Wilson as they're on the run down into turn 6 and 7 here, Tom. Hefford out in front now by a second over Ricks. The rain has kind of been that sort of, we call it the great equaliser, but it seems to have kind of spoiled the race in here almost.
Yeah, it's changed the race in a different way compared to what we've seen in the dry, but maybe not in a positive way as though we were hoping. And Jane Wilson getting through on Charles Kellerman around the outside group. It's almost like we're seeing mini battles now, as opposed to the 10-car drag races that we saw in the early part of this evening. Ricks is staying in touch with Hefford, though. He'll get the benefit of the draft on the exit of the Le Mans chicane. It just depends on how Ricks fancies this one. Does he play it safe and go for a class win by finishing second overall, or does he think, well, I've already won a lot of class races, I want to try and go for an overall win like I did at Spa?
Well, we're going to find out, I think, very, very shortly. We've got about 5 laps remaining. There's Steve Hefford. There's Jamie Ayres. Ayres is coming on to the back of Hefford now. He's surely going to be looking at pulling out to the right-hand side. There he goes. There goes Steve Hefford. There goes Pete Newman, sorry. Through he goes. Ayres is going to try that run around the outside. Is he going to be able to close the door? He's not. Newman still within touching distance. Is he going to go and send it up the inside at the moment for Pete Newman? It doesn't look like he is this time around, Tom. PVG's had another moment. PVG. And Ricks. Ricks and Hefford together. The leaders have gone round. Was that Hefford going first? It was.
Yeah.
Oh, Ricks has got nowhere to go. They're attached to each other now. And they've gone down the order. Oh, that's it. That's put Pete Newman out in front now.
Yeah, well, Neiman's not the specialist in the wet either, in all honesty, James. We've seen it before. He tried to complete a clean sweep in the wet at Mugello, didn't quite work out for him, and the same over at Oschersleben. But now this is a test to see if he can manage the race lead in these conditions on a track like this.
Yeah, I'm not quite sure how he's going to get on, but he seems to have done a good job so far. Ayres is still Wilson. Then you got Ricks and Kellerman. Ricks obviously recovering. He's going to try and go round Charles Kellerman here, and then further back is Steve Hefford and Colin Sanson. It looks like both men have got away with this one cleanly. Siddons is in the pits. PVG is in the pits. And obviously this is what happened to Pete this time around here. It's looking like a complete and utter solo spin. Round he goes. He can't get that car rotated. And off and around he goes for PVG into the pits. But Kellerman's got Ricks alongside him. Ricks just about to go up the inside, is he? Not this time around. You saw the flash of Ayres and Wilson. And both of these guys are battling away still in that second place. Literally, you've got 8 minutes on the clock now, Tom. What do you do here? What do you do in this situation?
Well, you're probably going to have one lap less than what he had done in the drive. So Ayres needs to think about how he plays this one. Does he decide to sit back behind Wilson and allow Wilson to stay within the draft of Pete Newman? Because he's not far behind him here. And just watch that gap come down all the way towards turn 1. I can guarantee you that it's going to come down to under half a second.
Here we go now. 5 out. There you go. Under half a second it's gone. And they're closing in on Newman at a rapid rate of knots. How is Newman going to hold this? Is he going to be able to hold this win? He's got literally 3 laps with the one that they're on ready to go, and that's all he's going to have. But they've still closing. Ricks and Kellerman in the background. Hefford's just gone round again. Steve Hefford has gone round again. When it rains, it pours for Hefford. And he's had this before, hasn't he? Where he's had a couple of... he had a collision from up front. And then his race was kind of filled with these. And then he ended up jumping back into the pits. I can't remember where he was on that one.
It was Mugello. It was Mugello a couple of weeks ago where he was in the lead and had one spin on the exit of Arrabbiata 2. And on the approach to Arrabbiata 1, he spun again and called it quits.
Yeah, just been made aware that we've got no game sound for some reason. which is really quite bizarre. You carry on for a minute, Tom, and I'll have a look, because apparently all the game sound's gone.
Well, we've got Jamie Ayres and Jamie Wilson fighting over position for second place, and they're beginning to fall away from Pete Newman a little bit, so they need to minimise the amount of dicing they have on track. Kellerman and Ricks are in a fight of their own in 4th and 5th, and for class honours in AM. Colin Sanson, the last of the podium sitters in that respective category. Steve Efford, after his second spin in this race, is running in P7 and 4th in the pro category. And Steve Hansford, who's had a better race of it so far in the wet compared to what he had in the dry, is in 8th position overall and 4th in the AM class.
Right.
So Alan seems to... Yeah, go on then, James.
Hopefully you should hear game sound now. I'm not entirely sure why all of a sudden it's gone completely wrong, but just let me know if you are hearing the game sound in chat now as well. Sorry about that. Not entirely sure where it went. Did it go from race 3, or did you hear it in race 3 and it disappeared after race 3? And Wilson and Ayres trying to get into the back of Pete Newman. Oh, no, stay off there for a minute. And Kellerman and Rick side by side as well. When did it disappear, Phil? Let me know. Did you have it in race 3 and then it's gone in 4? Or did you not have it in race 3 at all and nobody told me?
We'll wait for Phil to get his response on that. Whilst you've been saying that, Ollie Rex made a brilliant manoeuvre around the outside of Charles Kellerman into turn 1, a lot braver on the brakes. And that has paid off for Ollie Rex, who goes up to 4th position and is now in leadership in AM. Can he go after Ayres, Wilson and Newman in the remaining laps? He's got over 4 seconds to make up, so he's going to have to use his wet weather class to close in on those 3.
Yeah, it's going to be very, very tough. Just this one. How bizarre. Why all of a sudden would it just disappear? But there you go, never mind. Newman leading by 1.6 seconds over Mr. Wilson, with Ayres in behind him. And you can see now the lights are ablaze as well. The darkness is coming on this traditional D24 circuit. And Pete Newman, kind of running away with it out front at the moment, Tom.
Well, it's not over yet. We've got Ayres and Wilson still fighting it. I said it would be a 6-lap race. They might just get over the line before the clock reaches 0 at the end of lap 6. So just bear that in mind, James, as the race continues on. That might buy Wilson and Ayres a little bit more time to close in on Newman as the time ticks down. Yeah.
But they've got to stop fighting. They've got to stop fighting and push each other along. That's going to be the thing. And to be able to get on to Newman, the same with Ricks and Kellerman. They've got to stop, but that's a big gap between Ricks and Ayres. 5.5 seconds, Tom. That's not going to be easy to close up.
Yeah, well, Ayres has got to get moving. He's got a decision to make to decide to go for it on Wilson and hope that Wilson just lets him by and close in on Newman that way. 1.4 seconds back. Can they get that gap to under half a second by the time they get to turn number 1?
Yeah, well, we're going to find out now. They're not if they're going to be side by side. They're not if they're going to be side by side here. Wilson and Ayres, you're just going to try and extend the gap, or the gap's going to extend here. Wilson's managing to hold the line. Kellerman and Ricks are side by side as well. Again, that's kind of gone out the window of working forward with this one, Tom, and he's trying. Ricks goes up the inside, late on the brakes. Kellerman's doing a good job staying with Ollie Ricks, though, isn't he? Because it's tough for most people to try and stay with Ricks, let alone, well, I'd say stay with him, let alone try and overtake him in the rain.
Yeah, and Kellerman's doing a fine job in the wet, just keeping in touch with Ricks. They're not too fussed about the pro drivers ahead. And Ralph Cullen just getting through on Steve Hansford at 8th position. Despite the damage he'll have sustained from the contact with PVG on the first lap, Ricks trying to pull away from Kellerman, but Kellerman will stay in touch with the light green and black livery in the number 95. Colin Sanson's a long way off this bunch, but at least he's on course for an AM podium.
Yeah, you can see now Newman, Wilson and Ayres are getting a little bit more spread out. There's going to be 1 lap more to go. You can see 12th place Fiona Siddons all the way back on and there, gone into the pits, changed onto wet tyres, which isn't a surprise. What did Sir Alan Toon do to end up way off the pace here. I know he's not the quickest, don't get me wrong, but there's normally somewhat of a disaster for Alan Toon. Okay, and then he's going to come back onto the track, so Tooney does go off and loses a bit of time. Ricks is back again with Charles Kellerman.
Yep, side by side again before they approach Le Mans, and you can see this battle go right to the very end, probably a drag race to the line between those two. Ricks just tucking in behind. He knows how effective the draft is towards the front straight, or the front stretch as it's known around this Daytona course, and so he'll tuck up behind, and the leaders will be starting their final lap in a moment.
Yeah, Pete Newman's going to be going over the line very, very shortly. Wilson's 1 second back. Ayres has got into the back of Mr. Jamie Wilson. What is it like in his car? Well, you can see, mind you, but the window wipers are ablazing. Now he pulls out, looking for his braking point. Looks like Darrell Wright's had a bit of a mare further down the order. The final lap of the race. Steady, steady, steady. Does he want to just sit in there, do you think? Does he want to just push Mr. Wilson along to get onto the back of Newman?
Well, it depends what Ayres' game actually is, and Wilson is carrying on as he's doing, just minding his own business, and rightly so. He's got Pete Newman to close in, and he's running out of time. And Pete Newman's showing his class coming out of the slower corners, actually, and that explains why he's able to bridge the gap out over Wilson and Ayres. So finally, we are starting to see the best from Pete Newman in wet weather conditions, something which he struggled last week, really. Although he showed a little bit of spark last week, but at Mugello, he really, really struggled.
Yeah, and I think that's the thing, isn't it? When you get used to obviously being out in front in the dry, and then you get hit with the rain and you're not as good, it's a shock to the system. I'm sure Pete would have gone out and practiced his rain running, because he must know it's going to come in the heat 4, and we're coming round now for the final time. Pete Newman is out in front by 2 seconds. They're not going to get him here either, Tom. I think Pete Newman could have this one wrapped up here in race 4.
Yeah, he just needs to keep it clean through Le Mans, and then he is home and dry. Although he's got an AM driver ahead of him, he's about to lap. I don't know who it is. It's the one that's in top. Fiona
Siddons, yeah.
Yeah, it's Fiona Siddons, but I think Siddons should stay out of the way of this lot.
Yeah, it should be far enough ahead here, but obviously we'll have to do another lap. Now, Pete Newman, this is the run from Wilson. How's this one going to pan out? And is Wilson going to stay in front of Ayres? It's the final run of the final race. Ayres pulls out now. He's on the high side. You can see as they're coming towards us here. And Jamie Ayres is going to get this, I think. I think it's going to be a run to the line. He's in front at the moment. Wilson's got nothing to go against this. It is all going to be Pete Newman coming over the line, wrapping up 3 wins out of 4. Great job from him. Wilson and Ayres. This Wilson comes over by the skin of his teeth. And I think Ollie Ricks is going to wrap up the arms here. And with Charles Kellerman in second. Great little fight further back between Ricks, Kellerman there as well, Tom, I think. But Wilson and Ayres coming over the line with 0.012 together.
Well, I'm just looking whether that might be Newman's second win of the evening, not his third one. But either way, it's another strong evening.
No, he won race 3. I got race 1, race 3 and race 4.
You may be right on that then, if my memory serves me correctly. I'm just having a look on race 3, although I've just gone back actually on the tabs. But yeah, let's just say 3 wins out of 4 then for Pete Newman, which is his 11th win of the summer campaign, which is a very strong end to what's been a difficult mid-season for Pete Newman, but remarkably 9 wins in the last 12 races. I don't know who would have predicted that. Yeah,
and I don't think he's going to be that upset. Yeah, I mean, about race 2 after taking what I've got as another 3 wins. How many places? Yeah, he's up 9 places, top 10 reverse. Yeah, he won race number 3. So, okay. Yeah, being on that one. Then we've got just waiting for the guys at the back. This is Darrell Wright, Andy Littler, and Fiona Siddons here.
Okay. well, Darrell Wright will have had a race to figure out. I don't know what happened to Darrell Wright actually, as to why he didn't take his position on the grid. I think he ran into trouble later on in the lap. Did Darrell Wright after the race had got underway, and we're going to see why. Actually, has he run into connection issues or something, or is it just a spin?
No,
Oh, it's a very small. It's a very small.
Yeah, very slow spin, and then he does something here as well. Does Darrell Wright? He goes off a couple of more. Oh, there you go. That would probably do it.
And that was Andy Little he came together with, but he's over the line now. Is Darrell Wright, although probably not in the best of circumstances, but he got over the line anyway. As Fiona Siddons and Andy Littler. Siddons getting by Littler at some stage. So I think Andy Littler's front bumper has gone missing. Although I'm looking at such a far distance to see that, so you might want to correct me on that. Either way, Andy Littler getting over the line.
No, it has gone.
Yeah.
It's got no bumper. Let's bring you up the results of race number 4 as we just wait for Andy to go over the line here. And I think you can safely say, not as much as a banger of the other 3. Rain didn't quite provide what we were expecting, but Pete Newman takes the victory here with Jamie Wilson in 2nd and Jamie Ayres in 3rd. Ollie Ricks in 4th, winning the AMS, with Charles Kellerman behind him in 5th, and Colin Sanson. That's your 1, 2, 3 in the AMS. And then you've got Steve Everett, Ralph Cullen and Steve Hance with Darrell Wright, Siddons, Andy Littler, and then Sir Alan Toon and PVG, who we saw did not finish the race here as well. Sum up this evening, Tom, if you can, possibly, with all the racing that's gone on.
Well, I've enjoyed the last 12 weeks of racing of UkSimracers, and we're going to see a whole lot more of it, as I am down to do the autumn season, and I'm looking for the drivers get on. I mean, there's a lot of drivers who have been missing from the spring season, and perhaps maybe those who have not been involved in it at all this year so far, but maybe doing so in the autumn. So hopefully there'll be some new faces for me to enjoy, including Mr. Craig Jones, because I've yet to see what he's like in these cars, and if he's as good as what he believes he is, then we're going to be in for a cracker of an autumn campaign.
Yeah, no need. He's not as good as you think. He gets lost at race circuits. Goes the wrong way, does Craig Jones, especially at Silverstone. He goes the wrong way round the racetrack. So, yeah, Craig comes in with a lot of hype. He's one of them that speaks a good game, but hasn't really got the game to go with it. You know what I mean? Bless him. You know, he'll tell you he's got 4 trophies and everything else, but, you know, hey, look, it is what it is. But let's wrap that one up here this evening as well. Thank you so much for joining us, the usual crowd in the YouTube chat. Thank you again. That is the summer season over and done with. We will see you all. I told you 4 trophies he puts down in YouTube chat. We will see you all in about 2 weeks' time once more. But as always, guys, I've been James Parfitt. I've been alongside Tom Cairns. Take care. Have a great week. And you never know, we might see you on the track sometime. Good night.